Alright, so I wanted to make a quick, kind of rapid list format video of what it is like to move to New York City. I don't know who's clicking on this video. Maybe somebody who wants to move there. Maybe somebody that lives there and realize their whole life is just despair and they want to find a relatable video about how terrible it is to live in the most, probably notorious city in the world, maybe, probably. So I'm going to go ahead and just list, what do I got? I got like 10, maybe 9, things that you learn immediately when you move to New York City. Let's start with number 1. You get back pain from the stress of being on the subway for your first 4 or 5 times. So the subway is just a stressful environment in general, especially if you're not used to it. You got to learn to swipe the card, somebody's behind you, rushing you. You learn that missing a train in New York City can sometimes cost you like a job. Like if you can't get to work, missing one train could cost a lot, and sometimes you got to wait 40 minutes. And you don't know about express trains until like a year of living there. So you're an idiot. You take the local 1 train and it stops like every 10 feet. And then eventually you're like, oh, wait, they have ones that skip from 96th to 42nd. Good stuff. You eventually learn that. You also learn that don't go in certain subways. Like if it's like the middle of the day, Times Square, Penn Station, one of the most busy subways, and you see just a line of packed subways and an empty one, your mind is gonna go, oh, get the empty one. I'll be by myself. But what you learn, people don't go in that one because it smells like a dirty bum's asshole. The infamous one empty train amongst a bunch of full trains phenomenon is usually caused by one homeless man who is sitting in there and somehow can make the whole train smell like cement in his asshole. So don't go on that train. What else can I say about trains? You gotta stand most of the time. It's really cool when you get on the train, like in the Bronx, and you got a seat. And then once you get to like 96th Street, it starts getting packed. You get to see like old ladies who can't sit down. That's my favorite part. Number 2, you give yourself away because you look around a lot. No native New Yorker or anybody that's lived there for a while ever steps out of the subway and looks up. They never look up. They're always looking straight ahead because the city is filled with sort of zombie-like people. It's so strange. The more people there is in a city, the less people you know. And then when you go to a small town, everybody knows each other. There are families that live on entire streets. So you're going to give yourself away firsthand. And you can't hide it. You can pretend to do a fake accent. It's not going to work. I remember I got my first job, and I was sitting there with like a couple security guards because that was my job. And the night shift was coming. The guy was coming out of the elevator to relieve some other guy. And he said, as soon as I looked at you, I knew you weren't from New York. I could tell by your face. Your face wasn't dead. You didn't look dead inside enough. You looked like a hopeful young chap, really. And anybody that's from New York, they don't have that. And if you move to New York, you lose it in about 3 weeks. And it's cool at first learning stuff like, Central Park, but eventually all the cool places that are there when you first get there, you never go to again. You start going only to work and then home, and then you repeat until you die, really. So you give yourself away. There's no way around it, really. So get used to that. But then once you live there for a while, you're all cool and like you get to say New York stuff to people that don't live there, and they're all like, oh, they hate it. Everybody hates it because you're cool because you live in New York now. Number 3, you learn to not care about the homeless. When you first move there, I remember being a kid and taking trips to New York, and I would just stare. I'd stare because I'd be like, how could that? This is really sad. Like this guy, like the homeless in New York, I think they slouch for so long that their spines actually bend, and you're like, what is this guy's life? Like, he spends his whole life kind of looking at the ground near his feet. And you give them money because you want to, and they know as soon as they'll see you and they'll say, oh, he's not a New Yorker, and they'll kind of stare at you, and then you like give them money, and they know immediately they're conning you. They even don't even try to hide it really. Like you'll give them $1 and they'll go, "Oh man, can you give me 5? It's my birthday." And then you give them 5, and then you start realizing it's just all a big con job, and you eventually just don't care about the homeless. Eventually you start kicking the homeless because you're like, oh, see a homeless guy, kick him, keep walking, go to work, get a coffee. There's nothing they can do about the homeless. I had this idea a long time ago. We could put them on a train and just kind of ship them away somewhere. I'm still working on how that would work. Where would we send them? I don't care really. Let's get them out of it. Get them out of the city. Okay, let's see. Number 4, hot women getting out of cabs start to piss you off because how do you pay for how can you afford a cab in New York City? Like I don't even know if I think I've been in one twice and it's because somebody else paid for it. But you quickly everything is so expensive that it's almost unrealistic. Um, like a Dunkin' Donut in any other state is $1. It's always been that way. It's $1. Like a McDouble used to be $1. When you go to New York City, especially Manhattan, it's gonna be $8 for one Dunkin' Donut, and a McDouble is probably like $12. Cigarettes are probably like $45 at this point. And when you go to Manhattan and you see like some beautiful girl gets out of a cab and she smells like flowers, you start to hate them eventually because you're like, what? Because they look so hopeful and youthful. And who's paying for it? What job do you have to afford this? How can you even pay rent in Manhattan? You have to be a doctor. Like, and when you go to Manhattan, people watching is turns into people hating the people. I hated every person that spent money because I never had any. I never had any money. I jumped the turnstile for a year and got away with it. But one time, I jumped and I tripped and I face planted, and I literally heard people clap, and one guy yelled, "That's what you get, motherfucker!" All right, I think we're on number 6. You make your first friend after months of being there, and it's the best feeling ever. I guess this situation varies depending on why you move there or if you have family or friends. But usually I guess you move there and you're just with your family or you're alone, and it's extremely hard to meet people. Like I remember when I moved there, I thought about going on the Craigslist and finding somebody, but it was all dating, and I'm like, one, I don't that I can't do that. Uh, and two, I was like, man, I need to like I need a friend. Like I need to talk to somebody about anything, TV or video games. Uh, you get so used to seeing people and not talking, like, and the subway, everybody stares down or straight ahead or at their phone, and it's so isolating that I remember when I got my first job after a couple months, and I was like, man, I'm so freaking happy to like work with these people, and we were talking about music, and I was like, it was healing when that happened. So I when I got my first job after like 2 months being there, I remember I started and the guy was training me, and he said, "So what you into, man? Like, what, you play video games?" And I didn't even play video games. I pretended I did because I wanted to connect with somebody so bad, and it was healing. I felt like literal healing. Um, and then I found a band on Craigslist. That was cool. Um, that's what you got to do. Go on Craigslist, find find something. There's something you can do, and then also there's a lot of free stuff you can do. You can like there's a free section. You can go to comedy open mics and stuff, and you can go to improv comedy, which is horrible. I went to improv comedy and I sat there a bunch amongst a bunch of laughing idiots. It was so unfunny. I left. That kind of ties in with number 7. You're surrounded by so many people, but you somehow still feel so alone. I actually had this guy say that to me once, and I said, damn, that is profound. That's the most profound thing about New York. Every time I tell people about it, I just say that, and they don't get it. They're like, what? Uh, because if you live out in the country or suburban towns, like, yeah, there's a degree of loneliness. You can go weeks without talking to people in the suburbs. But in New York, you eventually, you feel like Holden Caulfield all the time. You have no money left. You're just like running around Manhattan, watching people, hating them, and then you pretty much it pretty much slowly sinks into your soul and you become one of them. It's like a virus. It's like a zombie virus in some ways. Number 8, people are super cagey and defensive. One time I was asking for directions, but I'm too afraid to go up to people to talking to them. So when I was walking up to this guy, and I wanted to make it look like I was pulling out my phone, like, oh, I don't care about asking you, but I was asking him for directions, and he went, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, whoa, what? And he went, you can't be doing that, man. You can't be pulling. He thought I was like gonna kill him, like a gang shooting or something. And yeah, don't be careful who you talk to on the subway too. There was this homeless guy one time, and he was like just yelling on the train. I started talking to him because nobody else was. You quickly learn don't do that, because the guy was like, he kept saying, I read the book, The Outsiders. That's a good book. And I was like, I like that book. So I said, yeah, I read that in high school. And we were having a friendly thing, like while everybody stared ahead on the subway. And our friendly conversation about The Outsiders immediately turned into him saying, I'll strangle you, like multiple times. And he almost did. It's pretty scary. Um, so you never know who you're talking to. Also, if you busk like with a guitar, weird old gay dudes will try to like lure you into their apartments. That happens a lot. Okay, number 9. There's only 3 free things to do, and one is riding the dirty ferry ship to Staten Island, which is a pointless island, and there's no reason to go there, really. Most people that move to New York never go to Staten Island, because why? That's like, basically, I imagine it's like just like a bunch of houses. It looks like anything else. You go on this dirty ferry, and you feel all like cool, like you're on like a boat ride from like upper class. You feel like you're like on the Titanic, and you feel like upper like an upper class like sea. You feel like a seaman. Uh, you feel and it's cool. It's cool at first, but then you're like, this is a disgusting, dirty train. The only time I'll ever get on it again is if like a family member visits and I'm too broke to show them around, so I just take them on this dirty, stinking Staten Island ferry. All right, this is the last one, number 10. You realize that native New Yorkers know nothing else other than New York. They have their own slang, and like they can't visualize a world where there isn't like a hot dog stand every like couple feet. Some of the slang terms I like hey B, what's up B? And getting high was getting wavy. Maybe this might all be outdated, but you when you make friends from New York, like they got that thick accent, and if you tell them something like oh yeah, back home I got lost and I didn't know, they'll go, take the train, take the train. It's like there's not a train everywhere. And sometimes I met somebody from Brooklyn once, and they were like, I've never been to Manhattan. You're like, what? You've lived here your whole life. Manhattan was 30 minutes away. You just never went. And the person I said this to went, well, if you don't got any business there, why go? It's like, dude, most movies take place here. This is like the center of the universe. You haven't gone to Manhattan. You've only stayed in Williamsburg, which is like a rich hipster part of New York. I don't even know what it's like now there, but Williamsburg is filled with a bunch of trust fund kids that wear like red shirts and blue shorts. We should ship them away just like the homeless, but I don't make the rules. Anyways, that's the whole video. I wanted to make a quick thing. I jotted those down really quickly, and I'm trying to make a bunch of videos on the same night because I'm in a good mood. And then I'm going to post them sporadically. Thanks for watching.
This ideal, it's centered around everybody should have an equal shot at some level of prosperity.
They do, they really do.